Monterey County, you have your primary ballots could be there sitting on your counter. It leaves you kind of the inevitable question, what have we accomplished? What have I done during my time in office? Commissioner Gentle, worth re-electing. Question you do have to answer. 4 years ago, we talked about safety, health, prosperity as foundational, just fundamental pieces for a healthy, thriving community. That was my focus. We'll add one here at the bottom. Things I've learned that were important to you. But I'm going to burn through this, guys. There's a lot to cover. We're going to start with the comp plan. Now, you hear a lot of talk about the comp plan. What does it mean to you? It means government regulation, over-regulation. It means we need to get out of your way if you're going to do business, if you're going to create revenue for yourself, for your families, if you're going to hire people's kids and people's grandkids, then government needs to get out of the way. And we did. Rewrote the comp plan. What it means in a nutshell is that for the first time in the history of Pend Oreille County, we have land that is zoned industrial. And for the first time in the history of Pend Oreille County, we have land that is zoned commercial. What this means, big picture, it's a big boulder to drop in a small pond. These ripples will go for generations. They're worth tens of millions of dollars, because it means investors have control of their costs and of their timelines. And if investors can't get answers to those two questions, they're going to go somewhere else. And they have, largely for 3 decades. Very proud to have my signature on that document. Safety, critical piece for a thriving community. Our sheriff came to us and he said, Commissioners, I have the resources to respond to crime. Stop it, maybe get the bad guy, maybe throw him in jail. I don't have the resources to always get the solve, to solve justice, right? That's what we're after. And the ask was for funding for an investigator position. We need somebody to write search warrants. We need somebody to find the missing persons, right? You guys, the message was clear from the people. We're paying for justice. We expect justice. We want justice. And so get after it. So we hired an investigator. And that guy was so busy out of the gate, overtime almost immediately. The feedback from the people was so good, we added a second investigator the following year. Okay, this is, I'll have to check with human resources on this, but with the addition of the 2 investigators, I think we're something close to the high water mark for coverage in Pend Oreille County, which means mathematically, you're as safe as we can make you with these dollars, short of raising your taxes a big chunk. We're in a pretty healthy spot there. Of course, that's the line we're walking. It's a budget decision, right? We can be oversafe if you guys want to pay the bill. Health. Obviously, the big one when I took office was COVID, and there was tremendous pressure from the state to have a vaccine mandate for all county employees. Right? They don't want us mingling with the public and getting sick or giving them COVID, liability that's created around it, tremendous pressure from the state. Hey, if you guys want to continue to be funded, and if you want a lot of these free dollars, and if you want to play nice in the sandbox, then you're going to have a vaccine mandate for county employees. And of course, the commissioners in Pend Oreille County said, you guys could take a hike. We're not interested in that. Interesting as well, if you look around some of the other counties, especially the urban counties, they shut down during COVID. County government shut down during COVID, and there are tales of some of the urban counties coming out of COVID with 2-year backlog in court cases. And so I'm very proud of your elected officials here. It was a group effort, and there wasn't any pressure from anyone here in an elected position to just close the office and shut it down. It was a balancing act. We got people being sick, and largely didn't know what we were dealing with. Big decisions there, but I feel like we navigated it very well and kept services up to you, but also kept our people healthy. Right. Back to prosperity, permits. That's another one. It'll slow down revenue generation, right? If somebody wants to build a business and they want to hire your kids, they want to hire your grandkids, then they shouldn't have to wait 6 months for it, right? And I'm proud of this one. This is my department. I'm liaison to community development. When I took over, I worked with Director Snow there. And he had some tricky staffing challenges, and it was creating a little bit of a bottleneck in there. And so we made some key staffing changes and gave him the support he needed to cross-train many of his people. Half those people in there can do somebody else's job in there. Long story less long, the permits have almost doubled. Inside of one term, the amount of permits that they are processing have almost doubled. Guys, I'm very proud of that, but here's the thing. We managed to shed one staff. Like I said, we're working more efficiently with the cross-training. Very solid people in there. Managed to shed one staff. Listen, guys, that's a drop in the bucket. That's big picture. That's not going to have a tremendous impact on your lives. The point is this: when do you ever hear about government getting twice as efficient and shrinking? When do you hear about government shrinking, right? You don't hear these things, and you certainly don't hear them together. So I'm very proud of the work they've done in the community development, and look forward to what they've got ahead. They're working very hard to just really sort of clear the way for revenue generation in this county. And we'll go back to safety. One you're going to hear a lot about is the road levy shift. Sometimes what government does is not as critical as what government doesn't do. And in this case, we're talking about the road levy shift. The message from the people is clear. We want our dollars on roads. Now, this one has been politicized a little. I spoke with the finance manager again because I know I heard her correctly the entire first 3 years in office. Every road levy shift that has been taken out by past commissioners has been paid back. So the money is on the roads. Still, it is a fiscal challenge to tell a public works director, hey, build this plan for roads, and then surprise, this money here is just gone, right? We hope to get it back, and of course they always have got it back. It's still bad planning, right? So what didn't we do here? Never a road levy shift, never. Not in my time in office, not Commissioner Smiley, not Commissioner Rosencrantz, not Mike Manus's last budget, right? It's just something we feel strongly about. That is, you got to get to work. You got your family's got to get around safely, and it's a declining revenue source, right? The roads funding is a declining revenue source. That's a conversation we're going to have a lot over the next 4 years. But our commitment to roads is strong, and that's a message we've got from you. We are going back to health. One of the other health crises across the nation and here in this county, whether you believe it or not, is the fentanyl crisis. We have lost people to fentanyl overdose, and I'm just putting opioids in here as well. So what are the commissioners doing about it? Simply in a nutshell, we created the Opioid Abatement Council. The Opioid Abatement Council, so when I say government funded, when I say state funded, federally funded, those are your dollars. There's no such thing as government funded. Those are your dollars. This one is not. This one, the Opioid Abatement Council, runs on the settlements from the pharmaceutical companies, right? Massive settlements nationwide with the big pharmaceutical companies that were pushing the opioids so hard. And so we're going to put these dollars to work and look for that over the next few months and few years. You do already have an opportunity to provide input. I can tell you there'll be an educational piece to it for sure. And Narcan, frankly, we're going to have that stuff everywhere. We're going to train the folks, you included, should you be willing to participate, to recognize the symptoms, to recognize an overdose, and we're going to have Narcan just everywhere, in the EMS car, in the squad cars, in the schools. It's just going to be everywhere, and we'll help with that. Back to prosperity. So for prosperity, what are your key performance indicators of a prosperous community? Well, sales tax is going to be one, right? Sales tax took a big jump during my time in office, so that's going to be one right there. Building, right? Building permits. People aren't building if they don't feel like they've got the money to pay for it. And our building permits are up during my term. We'll mark these. New construction. That's always a sign of the health of a community. Right? people building new things, not just renovating, retrofitting things, recycling things, but new buildings entirely, right? And so those are some of your KPI, and all three of those are strong and trending in the right direction. So for prosperity, if the first rule of Holes is to put down the shovel, then we've done that and we're trending in the right direction. We're gonna go back to safety. If you want to know someone's true priorities, give them a blank check. And we were given a blank check. The Board of County Commissioners was given the American Rescue Plan funding. This is a few $2 million to spend how we see fit. And we can just backfill county government with it, but we saw it as an opportunity to take care of some of the more acute needs that were outside of county government. As this pertains to safety, there were a number of requests for emergency response services equipment, and I'll just call it equipment here because it was all types, a lot of which I'm unfamiliar with, right? I haven't used a lot of this gear they were asking for, but a lot of the fire crews got life-saving equipment. A lot of the ambulances got life-saving equipment. And it's not just there, it's in health. American Rescue Plan funds were used here as well. There was a wastewater pump that we replaced with this, right? You have to have fresh water, but you have to have wastewater disposal, life-threatening if you don't. And so we had a wastewater pump fail in District 3, we replaced that. Your wells in Newport, we call that fresh water. Your wells in Newport were running dry. It was deferred maintenance, right? Newport got in a bad way, hadn't maybe budgeted properly for that over the years, and the screens need cleaned, and then frankly the wells need to be reconditioned. You were in drought conditions, and this was a real emergency. So we'll call that a recon there. Right, so we were given this blank check and we put it largely towards safety and health. I think probably some 78% of it went to those two things. A number of requests there, and I believe that reflects the values of the commissioners and what they were hearing from the people. I told you, maybe I told you, I was going to add a fourth category because this one seems to be more important now than ever. In fact, I'll work on my spelling there. In fact, webinar I attended said 4 out of 5 people listed as one of their top fears, mistrust in government, right? It was one of the things that kept them up at night, was mistrust in government. So what has this board done for transparency? Well, for starters, everything was on Zoom, right? And so for the first time in the history of the Board of County Commissioners, you could sit in your pajamas with a cup of coffee anywhere in the world and watch every minute of my business. It may not sound like a big deal. If you translate that to your line of work and just imagine a camera following you around 24 hours a day, every day, and there's no moment off, and boy, you better watch your language and don't be grumpy, and better, just be on your A game, have a sharp day, don't lose your temper, whatever else it might be. The idea that you can check on our work anywhere, anytime, that was important to us. We wanted you to be able to see what you're doing, and especially during COVID when it wasn't safe for you to come in, but we decided to hold it really after the COVID crisis was over, to let people engage in our meetings from wherever they are. In addition to the hybrid meetings, your public records requests were really starting to pile up. And so we hired a public records officer as a function that was in the auditor's office, and she just got buried at some point and wasn't doing the taxpayers of the county the service that she felt they deserved, and so recommended the public records officer. As the state requirements grow for public records, as your requests grow. More and more importantly, we get these to you in a timely fashion. So every document that comes through that's conduct of government, you have access to, and we have a public records officer that's going to get that to you in short order. We took the show on the road. We didn't think it was necessarily conducive to bringing the county together, to only have the BOCC meetings here at the county seat in Newport. So once a quarter, we take it up to District 3 and we have the BOCC there, right? So not just the people down here get to watch us work or engage with us work, but people all over the county, right? Traveling BOCC if you're having trouble reading. So this is, guys, these are just the highlights. These are some of the things that stand out for me, but I have to say this because a lot of the work just isn't high profile work. Everything runs on a head sheet in Pend Oreille County, a department head or whoever's bringing me a head sheet. A head sheet has to be voted on, and it has to be signed by a majority of the commissioners before it can be acted upon. It represents an actionable item that requires anywhere from 5 minutes to 5 years of work, right? Some of this work predates us. And we process about 10 head sheets a week, average about 500 head sheets a year. So that is 500 actionable items that we vote on based on what we believe your values are. That is the actual work of the commissioner. So this is, while this is all in our purview, in our headlights, at this point, well, by the time I'm done in office, that's 2,000 administrative decisions that represent the people in as much as I understand what you're asking for. So that's the real work as well as the budget. The budget is the big deliverable for county commissioners. You learned something today. Now's your chance to reciprocate. You've got some comments down below. Teach me something. What did we get wrong? What don't you understand? What boneheaded decision do we make? I'll get out of the way. You guys can, should you choose to, kind of screenshot that for your own reference. If you've got questions, if you want to fact check me, you want to look in on any of these things, I'm sorry that there was just no way for me to do this video quickly. Hopefully you'll take it in chunks. You don't have to do all 17 minutes here at a time, but I will see you guys before too long.